Continuing on through the practice management menu, now that we're done with dispensing, we come to the Letters and Hipaa tab. So this tab is dealing with letter templates and with informed consent documents. So let's take a quick look at each of those. So letter writer templates, these are the letters that pop up when we went to the letter writer for the patient. So for example, if we go into the EL new patient and we can edit that, this is the sample letter that is used as a template to generate the letter. So let's walk through how this actually works. So you may remember what I'm referring to is if we have a patient selected and we want to generate a letter that we're going to release. So since this is usually for releasing records or letters, that's why we're calling it Letters in Hipaa. But let's say I want to write a letter. So remember we went to Generate Letters. This is the letters that you just saw in the Practice Management tab. The EL New Patient is the one we were just looking at. And if you click EL New Patient, you'll see it goes ahead. Oh, her history wasn't really filled out. Let's pull one where the history was filled out better so that this will make more sense. So if we go into Lazarus Ethan instead, and then we go to Communications, Generate Letters, it goes ahead and it writes a letter for you based on what was in that letter writer template. So we can give the letter a name. You can select which letterhead you want to have show up. It generates an address, a mailing label if you asked it to in the template, a salutation. This is telling you which meal plan, medication, starting weight, body fat, etc., and then some more summary information. So it just generated that letter for us. We don't have to write a thing. And so you remember doing that before when we were doing the patient letters. So the practice management part, that's how you design the templates so that your letter gets written with one click. So if we go back into those templates and we pull up the EL New Patient and we click Edit, this was the template it was using. So at the top, the template name, that's the name that's shown, so you know which letter you're selecting. The date, that's the date the template was created. So this was made way back last year. The merge fields, are just a quick shortcut so you can get the CNC patient chart to populate with that field. So for example, they all just start with XXX. And so when the patient chart is generating a letter, if it says XXX, then it knows to pull that piece of information out of the database. So down here for the address, we said to do Dr. XXX PCP first. So that's the primary care doctor's first name, then the primary care doctor's last name, their address and suite, city, state, and zip. And so that's how it generated that address label, was just using these fields. And the fields are all pretty self-explanatory. This says Dear PCP first name, and then it inserts what we defined as the standard greeting. This is where we said what meal plan, medication, initial weight, initial body fat, goal weight, and then with the summary text afterwards. So same thing, we can go ahead and add a mailing label at the bottom if we had wanted to. So that's an existing letter, or you could also use that to make new letters. So that's just a really, really quick look at how we make templates for patient letters. The other thing we can make in that Letters in Hipaa tab is informed consent documents. So this deserves being talked about. So you remember when we selected patients, it would request that the patient filled out certain informed consent documents. The way it does that is from this table. So you can see we have 10 different documents listed here. There are 9 different documents listed here, and they can be designated required or not required for all patients. So in our practice, we like everybody to agree to our office policies, to agree to an informed consent regarding weight loss, and a general informed consent on appetite suppressant medication. So every patient is asked to sign off on those. The other ones they may or may not be asked to sign off on. You know, if I prescribe Qsymia, I might want the patient to sign off on a Qsymia. Or if I prescribe Belviq, I may have a separate informed consent for that. So you can have an informed consent for anything you want. If there's procedures you do in your office or injections, laser liposuction, whatever it is, you can go ahead and have a separate informed consent document. And this is the table where those are created. The CNC patient chart automatically asks for a Medicare opt-out informed consent in our practice for patients that it sees are 65 or older, and it automatically asks for a care for minors consent if it sees that the patient age is less than 18. Once we've made these informed consent documents, we really shouldn't edit them because this is storing what the patient actually signed. And so if we want to replace an informed consent document, let's say our appetite suppressant informed consent is out of date, the recommendation is to create a new, to save this one so we have record of what the patient signed, but create a new informed consent document with a new date, then make this document no longer required. So we'd make the 1/1/2013 document no longer required. And let's say we redid this on 1/1/2014, we'd make the 1/1/2014 required. But just to show you how the anatomy of one of these documents, so we just use, again, this, what you see is what you get text editor to enter the text of the informed consent document, the accept message, the other information, and you'll see those when we go and sign an informed consent document. Show in chart, if that's selected yes, then this informed consent document is available in the Clinical Nutrition Center patient chart. Show in portal means that a person logged into the Clinical Nutrition Center portal could access and sign off on that document or review it. And required for all patients is what we were just talking about. So I don't want to edit that. I'm going to leave it alone. But that's where we could say add, and we could add a new informed consent document. So that's just a quick look at how we're working with the informed consent documents in the patient chart program.